Okay. We are go.
We are go! Let's go! Alright. So, welcome, listeners, one and all, to a Toonkind at 12 FPS. Today is starring myself with my lovely boy Trance, and here I have today my good friend Quinn. Quinn, tell us all
Hello.
about who is the mystery person.
Not that much of a mystery, but I'm playing as my boy Kirian today because I don't play him very often and I want to do more games.
He's a good
So
boy.
here we
He
are.
deserves more games.
Yes.
Alright. So,
Yep.
what's Kirian?
This game is in the wake of the game Chaos in the Park, where our two boys met for the first time, as well as did a quest for the first time, kind of.
Yep,
Kind of a quest. More of a
fetch quest.
shopping list.
Fetch quest, technically. To be a
It still
technical
counts.
term. It still counts as a quest.
That it does.
Yeah. And during said game, there was an attempt at an interesting little kindness that kind of went awry. So it's on the
Yes.
heels of that. It's on the heels of that that has Trance heading towards Sammy's new bakery to try and see. Well, maybe if he can get a little bit more information about what's going on.
Yes. For anyone wondering, it was a very failed attempt at reverse pickpocketing.
He
My my
tried.
my sorcerer is apparently very, very aware for when people try to slip things in his pockets. I didn't intend for this to be part of his character, but it is now.
It's funny though.
Yeah, it's funny.
So it's on the heels of that it's probably been about a week, maybe 2 weeks since Chaos in the Park, and Trance has decided to stop by the bakery. And it's a nice little bakery. Sammy's put a lot of work into it. There's the entire wall of basically
Not
pay it
just
forwards.
Yes, there's an entire wall of pay it forwards, not to mention many display shelves for stuff. I was looking at the floor plan that was shown, and I marvel at it. It's really well done.
It's really nice. It's a great bakery, and there's product that's already displayed, and there's definitely been a bit of a line probably since about probably earlier in the morning when people start waking up and heading out for breakfast and to head to work.
Yeah, probably if Trance is a little bit savvy on food times, he would he or they.
Either works.
Okay. He would probably aim between the breakfast and lunch rushes or just after the lunch rush, which I work in food service. That's usually anywhere between 2 and 4 for the afternoons and about 9:30 and 11 in breakfast.
Hmm.
That's usually when it's quietest.
And he's looking for a nice quiet time because, you know, discussions tend to be a little easier to hear when there's not a billion people around. So he'd probably
That's
drop
right.
by around probably 2:33ish.
Yeah, let's say why not say it's the same time we started this? 3.
Yeah, sounds about right. So
So
he
he
drops
shows
by.
up at Yeah. So he shows up at about 3ish and probably asks Sammy where his new employee is because one of the things that Kirian did when he was applying was that he said that he wanted to be in the back as opposed to working the front registers or serving.
Hmm? Which is understandable, especially, well, Transit's had his fair share of working busboy in the past couple weeks where he's been sticking to the back and not manning the cashier either. People can be very hard to work with sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Especially around food.
especially around food.
Because you always get at least 2 or 3 hangry customers per day.
Per day. So he makes sure to ask Sammy about, is this a good time? Is it alright if I talk to him?
Yeah, and I don't think Sammy would say no. But what Sammy would probably tell Trance is that he would actually direct Trance to the back because, again, if you look at the floor plan, there's two rooms in the back there. One is very obviously the oven area, and one looks to be a sitting area, or at least a prep area.
Mhm.
And the prep area is likely where Kirian is making more bread.
All right. So Trance is gonna head on back towards it and knock on the door frame as he enters the room. He's hey, Kirian.
And he looks in, he sees Kirian at one of the desks, very obviously, or one of the tables, very obviously kneading dough with his back to it, but you get an ear flick and followed by a simple hello.
Hey, I was hoping to talk to you for a second if you have the time.
And now you get him glancing over his shoulder. And again, he's in uniform, which is his hair is tied up. He's got one of those hats on. He's got the apron on, his sleeves tied back. And he gives a small smile and says, "Of course, kneading doesn't take a lot of thought. You can sit down and take a seat, and I'll just keep going. It's good to keep. I like keeping my hands busy."
I know that feeling. Trance skirts around the table to take a seat so that he can see Kirian fully and properly.
And
And
how about you roll? Since this is D&D, let's roll a perception.
all right.
Just not anything big, just a kind of gauge of how is this how are things looking.
Hmm. It usually helps to have the character sheet not hidden behind three different tabs. All
I know that. I know that. Do, do, do.
1d20 plus 4. All right, so that's a 14.
Um, he looks all right. He's, as you can see, as I've already mentioned, he's dressed for work, but he doesn't look stressed out. Everything is clean. Some of his his coat, from what little you can see of it, despite it being tied back and kind of restrained by an apron.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of threadbare spots, but usually in the usual places you'd see it, or at least a little bit worn you around the edges. But that you see that normally from just a well-loved coat, and he's looks very relaxed for the most part.
Hmm. So I wanted to check in on you and see how things were going.
Oh, well, everything's going all right. It's been a while since I've worked anywhere, so I'm glad things have gone off fairly well thus far.
Me too. I gotta say, this is definitely a pretty nice workplace. Like,
Yes, Sammy is very kind.
yeah, you're enjoying the job?
Well, yes, I've always enjoyed cooking. It was something that was kind of a group thing when I was growing up, so it's nice to it has good memories, so I enjoy doing it.
I can kind of relate to that. I used to hang, I actually used to hang out like this back in the kitchens when I was younger.
Well, that's always nice.
Yeah.
Was it your parents who cooked, or
No, we had someone to help with that.
uh,
We had a lot of people, so
there's a quiet nod at that, and you kind of get the impression he's not going to ask if you're not volunteering.
Chance nods a little bit. So, you got hooked up with a new place and everything, right?
Yes, it's a small place further out of town. I have to get up a bit early in order to come in on time, but I don't mind. It's nice to get up early.
As long as you don't mind, because I know that baking you get up at like what 5, 4?
Uh, I usually get up at around about 4:30. Helps that for a lot of things you can prep it overnight and then let it cook and then cook when you come in.
Yeah, it always made the wait for cinnamon rolls even more torturous though, because you just want to eat them right away.
That gets a laugh out of him because yes, yes. Although you do have to be careful. Sometimes it's if you have to keep a close eye on it to make sure you're cooking it right. The last thing you want is raw dough in the middle. It ruins the taste
It really does. It's
so
ugh.
so much.
There was this one place that I was passing through a town, and I took one bite, and it was almost entirely raw in the middle and slightly charred on the outside at the bottom, and it was the worst cinnamon roll I'd ever had.
Oh, oven turned up far too high then. That
I
happens if you put something in for at a really high temperature, but only for a really short time.
Made me wonder if they were trying to flame broil it, something like that. You know,
Never heard of anyone doing that.
I don't know.
But then
I,
again, one should never underestimate a bad cook, especially if they're attuned. They can, it can be a marvel some of the things that happen in a kitchen.
yeah, no kidding. Well, you don't want to let people try to use spells to cook food, as I've found out. Too many wasted rabbits on that.
You At that he actually stops kneading the dough and actually turns and stares at you for a minute, then before going, "You have you tried to cook with your spell?"
No, not me. What I used to travel with some people, and they were a little on the chaotic side, and one of them happens to not be very patient and knew a lot of fire spells.
Oh, good gracious. Food takes patience if you want it well done. If you don't want it well done, then you need to buy rations beforehand because those you can pop out anytime.
It
Oh,
definitely makes it easier to travel with rations.
true, true. I know that
Done a lot of traveling?
one. In recent years, yes. It can be very difficult, especially if you don't, well, if you misjudge what you need to have.
Hmm. Don't I know that? You seemed like you had a pretty good setup when we first met.
Ah, oh, this is one of the reasons you came by, isn't it?
Well, one of them. I also really wanted to try those cinnamon rolls.
Well, I'm sure Sammy wouldn't mind at all. But yes, yes. It's just something I've figured out while traveling is that if you want a good place to set up where you won't be bothered very much, finding those tune spaces and parks is usually a good place to set up because unless plot is happening, no one really seems to realize you're there, which can be nice if you want some privacy.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I've definitely had to hide out in those spots once or twice.
Mm. Yes, can be very useful.
Can be, yeah. Though it kind of had me wondering, why were you there?
Ah,
If you don't mind me
that
asking.
I and he kind of pauses, and you can see the ears and the tails flicking a bit, and he's um I guess this would be an insight
Hmm.
since you're here to kind of dig for information.
Gotta learn all the things.
We have a lore hunter.
17.
Ah, oh, I can give you a decent amount for this.
Yes.
Now to figure out what to give. You can tell that he's kind of he's hesitant in that it's something he doesn't really want to talk about, and even then he's not really sure how to talk about. One of those things of like, this is a thing I know that if I saw it in someone else, I would be asking questions about, but oh, I really don't like the fact that they're being aimed at me right now.
Oh yeah. Trance knows that feeling a little too well, so he he you don't have to tell me. I just want to make sure you're
I'm
doing okay.
I'm I'm all right. It's uh it's complicated and personal.
I know that. I've done a lot of traveling myself, so I know traveling's hard, and I know there's usually not a good reason for having to go as far as you have to.
That gets a bit of a reaction. You see the ears kind of twitch a bit higher before kind of drooping a bit. Yeah, yes.
I mean, it's none of my business. I know, but if you ever need someone to talk to about something like that, you know,
It's not. It's something I have. It's something I know will come up at some point eventually. I'm not sure if it's something I want to dig into now.
yeah, no worries. It's everyone's got their really caked in baggage, and then he
Yeah.
does like a little finger guns cake. Get it?
Yes. Yes, I got it. It's yeah, that that seems to be very true. No one really seems to start traveling just for the fun of traveling. Well, it's not very many people that I've met.
Yeah, most people in Einquell don't travel for pleasure. It's not a bad thing though. I mean, a lot less bears around here.
Well, true. That's very true.
Well, the aggressive bears. I mean,
Oh,
there's definitely some
I know
toon
what you
bears.
mean. I know what you mean. I know what you meant.
Okay. It's honestly, it's kind of weird because I mean, you're a real kind, right?
That gets a stop. And can you roll me perception one more time?
Oof. Trance might have messed up a little bit. That's a 6.
6. It takes you. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to kind of give it to you just a little bit, just out of mercy. It hits you rather suddenly that this person in front of you has an outline.
Oh. Oh. I guess not then. Uh, sorry. The way you were talking about it kind of made it sound. Sorry. I grew up with real kind, so
You
sorry for
have
assuming.
kind of sufficiently baffled him because he's not giving me anything. He's just kind of in stunned silence because, uh, well, for backstory reasons, I can't. I don't know how much to give because of how little Trance knows. But you realize just suddenly, wait a minute, there is an outline there. But also, he acts weirdly real. I. Yes, I spent a lot of time around real kind growing up. Yes.
Okay. I I was just figured because I'm half Toon and I grew up real kind, and uh, the way you talk about Toons is a lot similar to how I used to talk when I first came to Einquell.
And you hear him take a deep breath and go, I. Yes, it's easy to get confused when under those circumstances. Yeah. Um actually, can you roll an insight?
Lots
Maybe
of
I
in-
can give you more if you roll an insight. Cuz insight is figuring out people, not just noticing things. Ah,
17.
17.
Apparently, insight's just the 17 number.
Yes. He's just really good at insight today. You realize body language says you hit on something there. You hit on something that doesn't quite match what he's saying. Like he's agreeing with the perspective difference that you've just mentioned, but there's something else there, and you just caught him very, very flat-footed with it.
Hmm.
And
Uh.
he doesn't really know how to. You blindsided him somehow, and you're not entirely sure what exactly caused the blindsiding, but you know you hit something.
Oh man, wasn't expecting that. So.
But he's also kind of rather determinedly turned back to the bread that he was kneading, and he's kneading it with a little bit more focus than he had been before. Almost like he's trying to get back some grounding by doing something.
I think Trance is gonna let that go for a bit and let Kirian ground
Yes.
himself. Because,
Let this particular moment marinate for a moment or two.
yeah,
But I get the feeling he's now rotating this information.
he is, but he's not sure, like, what shape it's supposed to be. He's, usually you try to rotate the cube, but he doesn't know what he's looking at right now.
Yes, there's some kind of weird connection between Toon currently and real kind mindset that that has just been stumbled upon. He doesn't know what to do with it.
He doesn't know what to do with it. Because there's dozens of reasons it could have happened. Could have been some kind of reincarnation thing, could have been some kind of magic. He doesn't know a lot about magic. He has it, but he doesn't really know much about it. So he's definitely, it's probably going to be a little off-putting, but he's just kind of looking at Kirian while he's trying to process, and then in the middle of his mask there isn't the expression. There's just a little cursor wheel spinning as he's trying to process.
I'm gonna roll perception for Kirian because I want to see if he looks over his shoulder and spots that. Let's see if I can remember how to roll here. Let's see, do you notice Kirian? Oh, he does! He glances over his shoulder and he sees the loading symbol. There's a pause as he stares at that because he didn't expect that. Like this, yes. The mask is obviously expression, but he didn't quite expect the loading symbol to show up. That's new. He hasn't seen that before.
And to be
So
fair,
there's this momentary stare off.
they're both staring at each other for a second, and then Trance kind of snaps out of it, and it's just the cursor wheel, this loading disc, just kind of splits off into the two pupils.
There's Kirian stares for a moment, go longer, and then goes, "Huh? Uh, yeah. Um, things are so weird.
Yeah,
Everything is weird.
yeah,
Everything is weird all the time.
yeah. This is definitely a really weird continent.
Yes. I have to wonder just what causes the inkwell to do what it does. It seems like that seems almost like it's the root, but for the life of me, I can never figure out what.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like innate to whatever the ink is, or I do not know. I'm half tuned. I just don't know any of that.
Things are weird.
Things
People
are
are
weird.
weird. Magic is weird. World is weird.
Absolutely.
Weird is just the native state of being, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, weird is better than, boring monotony.
Yes, I can. I suppose I can get behind that. That's. I don't mind things being monotonous every once in a while, but
The boring part. That's the kicker.
well, I can handle being bored on occasion. Just not for long.
I mean,
Something always interrupts.
plot likes to get in the way too.
Well,
Though,
always plot. Sometimes it's people.
yeah, honestly, I've only really had plots start happening again recently.
I have had. I haven't minded plot not paying attention to me.
It's definitely
First,
easier to make something for yourself when it's not, plot chaos all the time.
that's very true, but that also makes me feel like it something is waiting and it's big.
Can you
It
roll
feels like whenever plot
insight?
slows down. What? Hmm?
Can you roll insight for that when I
Sure, let
say
me
that?
see. What is your insight modifier again? Do. Ah, yes, it's that. Right, because of the stuff that I put with you.
I'm doing a peek. Ooh, good. All right, all right. So when Kirian mentions that something big is waiting around the corner, he sees the mask stays exactly the same as it is. It always does. But
May I
his
give you a bit of flavor to work with?
yes.
Kirian is an aberrant mind sorcerer. That means one of his abilities is basically mind reading because he can do instant telepathy.
Ooh,
So I always define his insight as being so good is because he can kind of sense what other people are thinking or feeling even when he's not actually casting.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I mean, it makes sense. Part of the thing for being a psychic is if you're more able to influence things, that also means you're more receptive. It's like a radio antenna.
Mhm. Then with that flavor, I'm gonna add that the mask stays the same. Trance's shoulders are a little bit tighter, and there's a moment of Kirian gets a snippet. It's just a snippet of don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it before it cuts out.
Ah, so feeling of ominous anxiety in a flash.
Yep.
And you immediately get the ears jolting upwards of, "Oh, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you."
What? No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm gonna roll deception real quick. My deceivy boy. That's a 9. Yeah, he tried to cover it up, but with the telepathy involved, Kirian knows that like it definitely definitely brought up a little more anxiety than it would with most people.
I'm 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 dreadfully sorry. I didn't even I forget sometimes that I'm not the only one who or I forget sometimes that that plot can be very dramatic for people. I'm dreadfully sorry.
It's okay. Really, it's okay. just you put things off for a little too long, and it makes itself known again. So
Yes. Yes. It's never fun when things you thought were behind you suddenly catch up.
yeah, so it's kind of why I wanted to know if there was like anything going on with you, because no one likes getting caught off guard like that. So I figured, in case you need some help, someone to talk to. I don't know.
And you see the ear and tail twitches again. And this time he seems a lot more thoughtful as opposed to nervous or hesitant. Like you've given him something to seriously consider now that it's kind of been mutually pointed out that sometimes big things happen and you need backup.
Yeah, and well, Trance does he's being genuine. He's being completely genuine about wanting to help Kirian.
I There is something, and I'm on the fence on how big it actually is, other than just how big for me. Um, there's someone I'm avoiding, and I'd rather not run into them again. But it feels like the longer things are quiet, the more likely it's going to happen.
Is it a like a rivalry sort of thing, or like someone pursuing you?
Ours, I wish it was a rivalry. There's I don't know if they're pursuing, but there's someone that I don't want to be around again. Ever. Um, how are you with bombshells?
Uh, Fine. I've encountered them once or twice. I had a cannon go off near my head the other day.
Uh,
Uh,
roll insight. See if you can put this puzzle together. Or rather, intelligence. See if you can put the puzzle that he just put in front of you together.
ooh, intelligence. Okay, that is a flat d20. That's an 8.
Yeah, you think he's talking about weaponry.
Yeah, I've encountered plenty of cannons and stuff like that.
Let's see if it's Kirian's turn with his insight again to see if he can pick up on the miscommunication in this moment.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah.
you nail it. He realizes that you're far too blasé, and the information he's getting over the mental hot link says, this is totally fine for someone who is just talking about heavy things. Oh, he doesn't get it at all.
Yeah, definitely,
Uh,
definitely get a feeling that like Trance knows a decent bit about weaponry through the mind link. About because like it's not just like the vague bombshell image people think about. It's a bit more detailed.
it's active weaponry. He pushes away the cutting board that he was kneading bread on, and finally rests his elbow on the counter and goes, "Not, oh, not, not like that. Wrong. Oh, I was being, I meant metaphorical bombshells.
Oh, I mean to be fair, I, I've done a lot with weaponry in the past. You know, it.
I gathered.
I used to
I
be
was
friends with an
unaware that you know
artificer.
diagrams. I was unaware that you knew diagrams.
Yeah, you pick some stuff up on when you're listening to people, and that is a deception. 22.
Yeah,
You just picked it
he
up.
buys it. he buys it, but I think you've also just in the scale of your deception, you've realized, wait a minute. How does he know that I know the diagrams?
Yeah,
You
there's
just kind
definitely a
of lump
moment of
that into that of realization of, wait a minute, how does he know that?
definitely a slight squint going on. Just
I would you like to counter a question or would you like me to continue?
you can continue because I figured you'll explain what you actually mean.
He Kirian breathes and goes, I have a bounty on my head. And
Oh.
I'm fairly certain that the one who put it out is the one I'm trying to avoid. And I'm fairly certain that it isn't a lethal bounty.
Ooh, that's yeah. Do you know the name of who put out the bounty? Because I can look into that.
No, I don't know their name. I know they're a scientist of some form. Something complicated and magical and I I don't know.
Okay,
Wait,
so
there's a lot to unpack there.
there's a lot to unpack there. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm trying to find my notebook for recording important plot stuff, and I can't find it. There it is.
Don't worry, since we're audio recording it, you can always listen through a second time and make your notes then.
That
That's
is
what I often do.
I think I'm gonna end up doing that. Okay. Oh, there it is. All right.
But yes, you have now dropped that he is avoiding a scientist whose studies are somewhat magical in nature. And that has so many anxiety inducing undertones for someone familiar with plot and ways things that can go wrong.
Yeah, there's definitely a look of ooh on the mask when Kirian like looks at him. Just yeah, that's not something you want at all.
And
Ugh.
he just kind of nods slowly. I I'm usually able to pick up subtle things to avoid areas where people who collect uh, would gather. They don't think very quietly.
No, I imagine their minds go a mile a minute.
I have just dropped a carrot in front of you. Would you like to pounce on it? Would you like
Yes.
to ask directly?
Yes.
Go for it.
My question just immediately left my head.
Well, he just said think very loudly.
Ah,
That implies a thought being heard.
Trance pauses for a second. It's just like, wait, you knew that? Can you read minds?
And that gets Kirian to pause and think and goes, oh yes, I'm an aberration sorcerer. Or aberrant mind, that's the word.
Uh, Trace just there's just a question mark in the middle of the mask.
And at that Kirian smiles because we've decided into a topic he's much more comfortable with and goes, essentially my specialty is mind magic. For me it's the easiest magic to use. It's natural.
I'm guessing it made it very hard to hide presence for you on Hearth's Eve.
At
Or
that he starts laughing goes, oh, from the other kids growing up? Yes. But and he pauses and tilts his head slightly and goes, Mama was always very good. I could never quite I always had to actively listen to hear for her, but she always manages to find something to hide from me.
that's good. It's you wouldn't want to you you wouldn't want to get too comfortable.
No. Besides, I respected Mama. I never really intentionally listened because she was always very honest.
Those are good people to have.
Mhm. Yes, the best people to have in your lives.
Yeah. I so uh so you can read minds. Is that how you know about the diagram?
Yes, I was surprised. I I don't make a habit of trying to listen. It's just sometimes things filter. I I do apologize for that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I know some magics aren't exactly, at the ready beck and call sort of things.
Well, yeah, sometimes sometimes you're just, what you can do is just a little too active. I I it it's been useful as much as it's been a bother.
Can you roll a small perception? Or it might be insight.
That depends. Am I trying to notice something about him or notice something he's okay? Is
Probably
it
something
external
he's.
or is it internal?
I think it'd probably be internal.
12.
12.
Not one of the better ones. He's been made consciously aware of the fact that he's been listening in, so he's trying to curb it.
Yeah. Uh, so, Trance, he doesn't sound like he's wholly used to the concept of magic. Like, it's not a new phenomenon to him, but it's definitely something that has him thinking a lot more deeply than most people would need to. Like, there's definitely a lot of, oh, that was just magic, no need to think too hard about it. But he definitely seems to focus a little bit more on that.
And as he kind of tilts his head and goes, well, sorcerer magic is very unusual just from the fact that it's more common as a what's the word? Uh, Bloodline. It comes more from family and who you're biologically related to, compared to say wizards who study their magic or paladins and warlocks who get their magic from a patron.
Small perception.
Okay. Let's see. 7.
7. Yeah, he's listening. He's listening.
That's all he's gonna get.
That's all he's gonna get. He's listening. Yeah, and paladins, warlocks, sorcerers, wizards. Bard magic, right?
Yes, bards are interesting. They get
Like,
their college is almost kind of bard magic is interesting because it's almost more drawn from people around them. This is, I will admit, this is a bit of an opinion, but a lot of others tend to be internal, while bard is a mix almost.
it definitely seems a lot more powerful when it comes to, when it comes to crowds, that sort of thing. Like, maybe it's. I kind of wonder if it's more collective intent.
Oh, I think so. Just because with a bard, it's all about being involved. Not just you being involved, but everyone with you being involved. There was this rather famous bard who had come through my hometown, and he was more of a storyteller, but his stories, when he wove in magic, always seemed more the more of a crowd he had, not just from him wanting to perform.
Makes
One
sense.
moment, person just came home.
Sure.
Okay. Um, but yes, he's thoughtful and he gives that kind of. I'm not going to make you roll insight. I'm going to just give you this one, which is that he's very clearly coming from the perspective that bard magic is at its strongest when there's a lot of people present.
Yeah, and you know, Trance does agree with that because that does make sense to him because it definitely feels a lot more like it's intentionally based. And honestly, part of him kind of well, that'd be an insight check
I'm willing to roll insight.
if you wanna.
See, do you get better than the last time you got insight, Kirian? Let's find out. 16.
Nice. So, um, Trance almost seems like he wishes he had either Bard's magic or none at all. Like it seems like he prefers the collective, you know, more people, more power is nice because that way you're, if you're with a group of people, you have your friends and your travel partners, and you get to do great things that way, but you don't have to. But
And you kind of see him tilt his head at that, and you Trance probably kind of figures that he's kind of picked up on a bit more than Trance really was saying, but he looks almost a little bit confused by it, like almost like he wishes he knew whatever context there was for whatever he's picking it up because he thinks there's a context, but he doesn't know what it is.
Trance, actually, he goes quiet for a bit when he realizes Kirian probably picked up a bit more than just the base admiration for bards. Sorry, 1 second.
Take your time.
All good. Okay. So it's more than just the base admiration for bards and their interesting magic type, since it's kind of hybridized, in a sense.
But there's obviously a bit more, and Kirian's picked up on more, but it doesn't look like he's going to ask. He's a little confused, but he's not sure if he's allowed to ask, so he's not really speaking up, just kind of tilting his head, and you're getting, that puppy thing where they drop one ear
Yes!
and the other lifts up, and he's kind of
Yes!
doing that.
Oh, I love that. That's cute, though. Joyce just handed me going, "Aw, puppy!"
But also, puppy is curious about the thing that I'm not sure I want to get into, right?
Yeah. Uh, don't worry about it. Just thinking about something. Uh, so crap. There's something else I wanted to ask.
Take your time. Well, Kirian glances at the clock. It's not like I have anywhere to really be.
Hmm. Yeah, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. You probably.
Right. I don't I don't mind talking. It's nice to just have a nice conversation without things happening or being concerned about something that's happening.
Yeah, that was we definitely had a little bit of a thing happening last time we met.
Yes. Yes. Uh was was that being we met some kind of god?
I have no clue. On
It felt like it was some kind of at the very least it was not a being of our plane.
Yeah, I think that's probably a little more apt because I'm mm, and he looks a little. He looks a little. What's the word?
Describe the feeling for me. I might know the word.
He's got very mixed feelings.
Unsure.
Yes.
Um. Yeah. There we go.
He looks very unsure of, the whole topic of gods, because it's just something. Hmm,
Gods are complicated.
they're very complicated.
I've I've never, or at least I have never been aware of meeting a god. The closest I've come to worship is Lady Calatea, but there it's just so but there there's something. Mm, the closest I've ever come to worship of a god was Lady Calatea, but it's so hard to quantify them just because there's so many variety and such wild contrast just depending on where you are. It's oh, I remember getting into an entire debate about that once with a paladin when I was 10. It was so crazy. It's long. Although
Uh,
why a paladin debated with a 10-year-old is beyond me.
I mean, to be fair, sometimes it's better to get some inspiration from people who don't really have the same hang-ups as grown-ups, you know?
Oh, well, I mean, getting into a debate with a paladin was far better than other things that I would have to deal. I'm just relieved that he settled on debating.
Yeah, yeah. Debates usually. I mean, there's definitely an art form to it. It's definitely something that it's a skill that does need to be sharpened, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of word choice that can be really, really important if you're not dealing with someone who's of a kinder mindset.
Yes, believe me, I've met them. I met them even then. Some people are just bizarre.
Yeah,
I I respect paladins and such. Just sometimes some of them get too fanatical.
they're very hoity-toity half the time. Honestly, it's ridiculous. You'd think that half of them were just raised as nobles, just off of how they talk to people half the time, and it's just
They
do you
don't even
need to speak that fancifully? Do you need to speak that formally, really, or are you just showing off that you think you're better than everyone else?
I don't even think it's that. I mean, some of them it's like they come from another planet. I have no idea what it is to view the world outside of any lens but their own. Absolutely bizarre, all of them. Crazy, crazy, nuttier than trees full of squirrels.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty nutty trees.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like we've strayed off topic.
Yeah, I don't even remember where we were at the first part. I'm
I
sorry.
think we were ta- I think we were talking about bounties, but
Right. Right.
yes, crazy, crazy person, crazy person, scientist, magic. Don't. Uh, long story short, I don't want to be anywhere near them, so I'm taking great care to not be noticeable. I don't. I don't want to even chance it.
Okay. Hmm. If
Um,
you want, I can try to look into an item I've heard of that would
and
be. Uh, it definitely help you be able to hide from scrying.
I would appreciate that. I I don't that that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's it's no problem. It's usually, well, it depends on where you get it from. Sometimes you get some pretty decent quality ones from. Um, I know there's a
Oh,
couple druids that do some pretty good work. I've heard good stuff about that.
oh, yes, I would imagine. I've never really been able to go looking. I've been moving a lot, and it's hard to look for those kinds of things. It's a thing. It's a thing.
No, I get that. I get that. I only recently settled down in an actual place like 2, 3 years ago.
Oh, whereabouts?
Well, I'm currently staying at an inn here in Philstown for work. I
Hmm.
have an apartment in Las Aluvia.
I've never been there. Is it nice?
It's a pretty nice place. Yeah, there's actually another bakery there that has really kind people. Jubilee's friends. Well, basically
Ah,
sisters.
ah. Who?
Mm. Oh, Jubilee Yukon's one of my friends.
Ah, not met him. Um,
You'll
I've
probably meet him one of these days.
I'll have to take your word for it. I've I spent most of my life in a fairly small-ish fishing town, so I don't know a lot. I know I don't know a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty par for the course when it comes to, I mean, people usually don't come from, you know, real kind settlements towards Einquell for, going from
Oh,
something big to small.
it's not actually that far from Anquil. It's actually a bit further down south to the west of here, I believe. Southwest, yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna have you roll perception real quick.
okay. Minus, not a plus. 11.
Okay. I'm gonna give you advantage on that.
Oh, okay.
Don't know.
3.
3. Rude. Okay.
We're gonna go with the 11.
So you see for 1 second, just a second, because of that 11. Uh, the eyes of Trance's mask go away for a second, and then they come back.
You um you've probably never heard of it. It's called Nefli.
Nefli? No, I can't say that I've heard of it.
Not terribly surprised. I mean, it's very well known in some circles and completely unknown in others.
So it's basically like if you know it, you know it, and if you don't, you're kind of left out.
Uh, not exactly. It's Nefli has one singular major draw, and it's a bit niche. So it's pretty easy to find out about, but for the most part, uh, if you're not in that niche, not a lot of people even realize it's there.
What is that niche?
Um, it's the tree. Oh, right. Um, Nefli has this, and you actually see him kind of lift his hands to gesture, and he says, "There's Nefli has this incredibly large tree that grows out of the salt water near the bay,
Whoa.
which already in and of itself it's strange, but it connects some of the coastal islands there to the mainland. You could actually walk across the tree if you were willing to take your life in your hands, but it's tremendous and very, very heavily magical, but no one has any clue what. So it's a pretty heavy draw for people who research magic.
Oh, I see, I see. Explains why I never heard of it.
Yes, the water's directly in as close to the base as one is willing to get are very strange. So, yes, a lot of people go to research there, but um, for the most part, it's not really paid much attention to just because there hasn't really been much to see. Although, and at that, you see him freeze suddenly.
Huh? You okay?
I There was something um found recently. Uh, about 3 years ago. And can you roll me an insight?
Yes. Makes me glad I put it as one of my proficiencies. That's a 5. He knows nothing.
Right. Yeah, just the closest I will give is that he seems kind of normal. It's a little odd that his voice was shaking a little bit. Maybe he's just having trouble remembering the thing, whatever it is.
Mm.
And he continues, goes, it's there was a find, and some more people have been paying attention, but I haven't been home since then. Um, that was around the time I left.
Okay, okay.
And I know you're writing down something that Trance hasn't noticed. I know it.
I'm just putting item found, weirdly shaky voice.
Anyways, she says, like she has said nothing. Kirian seems to kind of shake his head a bit and goes, it's drawn more people there. So there's been more attention, but not um a lot of things are going on at the same time, so it a lot of people still don't know.
Well, there's plot everywhere, so I'm not terribly surprised. It's still kind of on the down low, but hmm.
Yes, it was around the time of this the big international thing that happened a few years back. So, yes, it was something big, but something far, far bigger eclipsed it.
Huh. I'm gonna have Trance roll history to see if he remembers anything, but I'm not. It's a flat 0, so I'm not confident on it.
Well, let's see what happens. Do you know things, Trance?
Sorta.
He knows what the incident is. It was I'm gonna be blunt. The event that I'm trying to reference is Taffy Train.
Oh.
So yeah, Taffy Train. That kind of obscured pretty much everything else happening in the entirety of Inkwell.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a very big one. It's like,
So yeah, he
oh
obviously knows
yeah.
that and goes, "Oh yeah, a couple years ago, that was the big thing."
Like, oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that kind of blew everything news related out of the water.
Yeah, I definitely remember seeing that on the TV. Ooh, that was big.
Yes. I didn't watch it, but it changed so much. So it inescapable in its own way.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, this has gotten depressing.
yeah, yeah, a
But
little bit.
anyways, yes, Nelfies very small if you aren't very heavy into magical research and such. But yes, that's where I grew up. But yeah, I'm just trying to be okay. And it's mostly been okay, but that has resulted in me wondering when that's going to change.
I know that feeling, but you just can't let it. You can't let that rule your life forever. I know it's I know it's probably not the thing you want to hear, but
Oh, no, I do realize that. It's just nail biting until it does come.
hmm. Well, here. How about I give you my plot device number?
Oh, plot device, those thingies.
Yeah, you'll probably end up finding one in your pocket at some point. I did, and it freaked me out. So, uh,
Oh, joy. Delightful.
yeah, it could be
Um,
worse.
eh, I'll have to take your word on that one.
Yeah, but this way, if you have like a find like a payphone, or if you get a plot device and you need some help, you'll be able to reach me.
I appreciate that. And since I assume Trance is holding out the number, he takes it and he kind of pulls back his apron a bit so he can tuck it into his coat. And you don't know if
Hmm.
there's a pocket there or if that's where his hammer space is, but he tucks it there.
There it goes.
Yeah, um, just hoping I don't lose it.
Yeah, I hope you don't lose it either, 'cause I don't want that getting out and about.
uh, yeah. Of course, knowing my luck, the closest I get to losing it will be hammer space fumble, but well, we'll see.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've gone through my hammer space in months. Ooh.
Oh, I know I have a bit of a collection. Um,
Hang on, I need to check something real quick. And he's gonna stick his hand into like the pocket of his um in the pocket of his sweatshirt. Okay, and he pulls out a it's a melted smoothie. It's not
I
bad, but it's a melted smoothie.
the ears twitch back and goes, I. Why did you put that in your pocket?
I don't remember, but he takes a sip out of it.
I. Okay. I usually don't put drinks inside my hammer space, but you know what? That makes as much sense as anything else.
Yeah, it's Dynquil. I think I might have wanted
Yeah.
to share it with someone. I don't remember.
Eh,
Eh.
it
Either way,
happens.
either way. Uh, yeah. So
I I appreciate it, really. I don't know when things are going to come to port, but I do appreciate that I might have some help.
yeah, of course. And if you need, just let me know.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Um, I should probably get back to work. Um, you said he
Yeah.
wanted a cinnamon roll, right?
Yeah, actually.
That thought. And you see him duck back and duck into the main kitchen, and you can kind of see it from the doorway if you tilt where you're sitting.
Ooh.
And you see him pull on a set of gloves and duck towards one of the ovens, and he pulls out a tray that is full of cinnamon rolls.
From
And he
where
just
he's leaning, Kirian can like glance over and see like Trance's mask has a little drool emoji. He's like, oh.
and he kind of looks over, gives a slight smile and a little conspiring wink, and goes, "I doubt Sammy will mind if there's one less on the tray when he comes to get them."
You are a godsend.
I know the good of a good cinnamon roll right out of the oven.
So good.
And he removes one, and I'm going to say he splits it in half, and they split a cinnamon roll before Kirian goes back to work.
And Trance has to head back to make sure that Taiki's doing okay while, well, he left his beloved puppy with Flora so that she could have a little puppy time because she loves spoiling that poor thing. And yeah, he's got stuff to do unfortunately, but he
And
could.
he probably has a lot of thoughts to let marinate for a while now.
Yeah, he's got a lot to think on, and he's definitely gonna need to maybe get some calls in, see about hearing what exactly the bounty is, because he has a
Yeah,
feeling he can figure that out.
yeah, because there's nothing quite as unsettling as finding out that a person that you have recently met apparently has a bounty on their head, and it's not a lethal one.
Yeah, because when it's non-lethal, you know there's definitely going to be something worse.
There, there's something there. So I think that's about the end for this particular FPS.
Yep, the two head on their separate ways. And with that, we're going to close the curtain and let them resume their little lives.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you to everyone who is listening now and in the future, and I hope everybody enjoyed this. And it was lovely playing with you. It was
Yes,
fun.
it was fun. We need to do it again sometime soon.
Yes, I like your boy. I want to play more games with him.
Yes. All right.
So, shall we stop the recording?
Yep, time to stop the recording. 5.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.